But here's the point. The world does not have to surrender in the face of that veto. The United Nations General Assembly that will meet in September is empowered under the Uniting for Peace resolution to act when the Security Council is unable to act owing to the veto. And taking such extraordinary action has never been more urgent.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to the Struggle Video News. We start with a video from a festival. Last week, we presented an interview with Anas Arafat in Gaza City. Somehow, as the Israeli extermination force bombs come nearer to where he is living, Arafat and his friends staged a festival for children. Here's a bit of the video.
يلا بينا نخلص بقى يلا يلا سوا سوا بعرف بيتي وبعرف قلبي صوت عالي بالمحبة والحلي وين الزقف تبع الاهالي وين الزقف اسمع زقفتكم بالمحبة والحلي اخذوا خيط طارقوا الارض شبكة عيني وزرم على بلدنا اعتدوا بي واخدوا خير طريقون الارض الى صدمي شبكة عيني شمس وسواد ما في حدا جاوب علي ناس يخسر على بالليل انا مرة صبيوني لا شمس وسواد ما في حدا جاوب علي ناس يخسر على بالليل انا مرة صبيوني شفت بيسبهم ماشي حوالي من أهلي الحسن مسكت ونعمته ولا بالي قوي شفاكيها واحد شفت بيسبهم ماشي حوالي من أهلي الحسن مسكت ونعمته ولا بالي قوي مسكوني وضربوني وقالوا إنه حاسب على حبسوني والتهم سؤالوا إني مجرم إرهابي مسكوني وضربوني وقالوا إنه حاسب على حبسوني والتهم سؤالوا إني مجرم إرهابي مين اللي يركب هذا العار اسمع صوتي يا بشري اللي مثلي لسه صغار إمتى بيشوف الحرية وين الأطفال وين الأطفال هذا العار اسمع صوتي يا بشري اللي مثلي لسه صغار إمتى بيشوف الحرية إمتى بيشوف الحرية إمتى بيشوف الحرية زقفة كتيرة إلهم من تصوير فلسطينية لسه بعبر الوريد قلبي طيب
Though these images are happy, the bombs are getting closer. Anas told us that the concussion caused by one of the bombs was so near that it broke the screen on his phone, and he was out of touch for several days. It's terrifying. This week, the leading association of genocide scholars has declared that Israel is committing genocide. A 3-page resolution passed by the International Association of Genocide Scholars states that Israel's conduct meets the legal standard for genocide. The association presented a whole list of actions taken by Israel throughout the 22-month-long war that it says is genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. The Israeli Foreign Ministry cynically responded that it was Israel that was the very victim of genocide. Here's the latest about the very criminal treatment of Dr. Safiya. On August 28th, lawyer Gid Qassem visited Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya, director of the Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza, who was abducted by Israeli forces in December after refusing to abandon his patients. Dr. Abu Safiya had been held in Israel's notorious Ofer prison with his nephew, Hussam Zaher. Qassem reported that both men are exposed to sunlight only 30 minutes a month. They suffer from severe scabies, boils, and skin infections while being forced to wear the same clothes with only rare 2-minute baths. He added that each has lost a third of their body weight, urging their need for specialist medical care, including dermatologists and access to essential medicines. I entered in the name of humanity, and I will leave in the name of humanity, Dr. Abu Safiya said in his most recent message, vowing to continue serving his people even from a tent. Dr. Abu Safiya was seized when Israeli forces raided Kamal Adwan Hospital on December 27th, the last major health facility in northern Gaza, shutting it down. Some news for Hungary, where scores of important Hungarian Jews defied community leader pressure and the Orbán government and condemned Israel's war in Gaza. I'm going to read from an article in the Israeli paper Haaretz. The headline is, "We will not remain silent. In denouncing Gaza war, Hungarian Jews set off a firestorm." The piece was written by Judy Maltz. It begins, "An open letter signed by hundreds of Hungarian Jews has thrust a widening rift within the Jewish community over Israel's war in Gaza into full public view." Later she writes, "Initially circulated about a week ago among prominent Jewish intellectuals, academics, artists, and religious leaders, the letter began as a grassroots initiative." It says, "We differ in many ways, but we agree on one thing: the one-sided extreme statements of the current Israeli government and the influential Hungarian Jewish organizations and opinion makers in the Hungarian public discourse do not represent our opinion. We see the Israeli families who have been waiting for almost 2 years for the return of their loved ones who were taken hostage. We see the hundreds of thousands in Gaza who, after months of brutal destruction, are now suffering from deliberate starvation. We know that on all sides there are people who want the same things: security, freedom, dignity." Noting that protests against the war in Gaza have been largely banned in Hungary, the signatories lament that there is hardly any platform or institution in Hungary that dares to engage in debate and nuanced discussion on this topic. A brave letter. 2 short pieces from Democracy Now! The first about 2 brave veterans who spoke out about congressionally approved genocide during a hearing.
U.S. military veterans were removed from a Senate hearing Wednesday after they accused committee members of complicity in genocide in Gaza. Former Army intelligence officer Josephine Guilbeault was led away in handcuffs alongside retired Green Beret Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Aguilar. He worked as a security contractor for the militarized U.S. and Israeli-backed so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation before blowing the whistle on the group's deadly attacks on Palestinian civilians seeking food.
Are being arrested right now for interrupting a foreign affairs hearing on nominations because the U.S. is complicit in genocide. They are complicit in the slaughter of babies.
When the United States Congress comes after veterans, they will come after you. Every American sitting at home right now needs to realize that you are paying for a genocide.
The second is about a ruling from a federal judge nailing the Trump administration's supposed concern about anti-Semitism.
A federal judge in Boston has ruled in favor of Harvard, saying the Trump administration broke the law, violating the university's free speech rights when canceling nearly $2.2 billion in research grants. In her ruling, Judge Allison Burroughs wrote, quote, "A review of the administrative record makes it difficult to conclude anything other that the government used anti-Semitism as a smokescreen for a targeted, ideologically motivated assault on this country's premier universities," unquote. Harvard was the only university to sue the Trump administration after it targeted the school's research funding over claims of anti-Semitism.
We note in passing that Justice Burroughs is of the Jewish faith herself, hopefully refuting the inevitable trolling that she is an anti-Semite. You've probably seen this picture for decades. Israel next to the Palestinian West Bank and Gaza. It's not accurate, as you see in this map from the UN from 2011. Israel has total control of all the brown area. We know what Israel and Trump have in store for Gaza: total expulsion or extermination. As for the West Bank, the Israeli minister in charge, Bezalel Smothrich, aims to put this plan into operation, to force millions of Palestinians there into the tiny areas shown in yellow. They would have no economy at all, living from the world's charity or dying out of sight. Legendary reporter for Haaretz, Amira Haas, says don't dismiss this plan as delusional. She writes, Smothrich has consistently shown that he can turn his goals into reality. NBC National News a couple days ago talked about the military action against a boat full of alleged drug traffickers. NBC didn't have any critical sense at all. A number of questions. One, why wasn't the boat surrounded and people on it forced to surrender? Two, is the penalty for suspected drug smuggling instant death? Three, why weren't there any Navy ships on hand to pick up survivors? Four, do we take at face value the claim by an administration known for its lies that these men were part of Tren de Aragua? 5, do we just agree that people in a criminal gang are terrorists? There are criminals all over the world. Does that mean the U.S. has the right to send its military all over the world? 6, was any wreckage recovered? Is there any evidence that these people had weapons, or even that they had drugs? 7, isn't it odd that there were 11 people on a supposed drug smuggling boat? Wouldn't that slow it down? Isn't it possible that what the criminals were doing was human trafficking? In other words, smuggling slaves. Did the slaves deserve death? Now a section from a talk by Craig Mokhiber, a former UN official who resigned in protest of the lack of UN action against the genocide. He's part of an 8,000-member group that calls for UN military force to be created, a military force to protect Palestinians from annihilation.
Let me talk about the UN options. That brings us to the United Nations. And the UN, I have to say, has much to answer for in this genocide. Some in the UN have been absolutely heroic, like the UNRWA workers, who have been murdered in their hundreds by the Israeli genocide, many along with their families. The other humanitarians have continued to work to relieve the suffering of the people of Gaza in the face of enormous risk. The International Court of Justice, which has issued historic decisions affirming the rights of the Palestinian people in the face of enormous pressures not to do so. The special rapporteurs like Francesca Albanese, who have endured 2 years of smears and slander and harassment and death threats and US sanctions. And the political side of the UN is another issue, though, because some, like the Secretary General, his senior advisors, the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the senior political leadership, they have failed miserably, not because they could not do more, but because they chose not to do so. And of course, the enduring symbol of UN failure is the Security Council. There are Security Council scenarios. Let's look at them quickly. As everyone knows, the Security Council has the power to deploy an armed force, and it has the power to impose that force even against the will of a country under Chapter 7. But given that the US, the UK, and France, all complicit states, have veto power in the Council, there are only two possible outcomes from the Security Council. One, a mandate that pleases the United States as Israel's proxy, and therefore the terms of which would be framed in a way that is disastrous for the Palestinians, or a veto of any force that would actually be helpful. So we know that the UN Security Council is deadlocked by the US veto, but here's the point. The world does not have to surrender in the face of that veto. The United Nations General Assembly that will meet in September is empowered under the Uniting for Peace resolution to act when the Security Council is unable to act owing to the veto. And taking such extraordinary action has never been more urgent. A UN General Assembly resolution adopted under Uniting for Peace could call on states to adopt comprehensive sanctions and a military embargo against the Israeli regime. It could withdraw the UN General Assembly credentials of Israel. It could mandate an accountability mechanism like a criminal tribunal to address Israeli war crimes, crimes against humanity, apartheid, and genocide. It could reactivate the UN's long-dormant anti-apartheid mechanisms to address Israeli apartheid. And, for purposes of this conversation, most importantly, it could mandate an armed, multinational UN protection force to deploy to Gaza at the request of the State of Palestine to protect civilians, open entry points via land and sea, facilitate humanitarian aid, preserve evidence of Israeli crimes, and assist in reconstruction. All of these actions could be adopted by the UN General Assembly with a 2/3 majority. And since Palestine has requested an intervention, no Chapter 7 action by the Security Council is needed to deploy a protection force. Very importantly, as affirmed by the recent World Court findings, Israel would have no legal right to refuse them. The court has affirmed that Israel has no authority, no sovereignty, and no rights in Gaza or in the West Bank. The process is very simple. A proposal is vetoed in the Security Council. That's inevitable. Secondly, states call for an emergency special session in the General Assembly under Uniting for Peace. Also easy, as Emergency Special Session 10 is in a session that can be resumed with a simple request. Third, a resolution is proposed by one or more sponsors in close consultation with the State of Palestine. This is also entirely possible unless the representative of Palestine somehow relents, and politically doable. Fourth, the resolution is adopted with 2/3 majority. This too is possible based on previous votes in the General Assembly. Fifth, the Secretary General is instructed to solicit troop contributions from countries. This is standard practice, and here's where pressure for states from across the globe to donate troops becomes very important. Finally, the mission is assembled and deployed. That's technically very easy. It is politically very challenging. But legally, there are no hurdles. The rules allow this, and there are precedents for it, like the 1956 UN emergency force that was deployed by the General Assembly to the Sinai. And judging by previous voting, a 2/3 majority is possible. Not guaranteed, but very possible. Now, you can be sure that the United States and the Israeli regime will do all in their power to obstruct the UNGA process and the deploying of the mission. But they don't have a veto. And that's the difference. This takes only political will and a political mobilization. It requires a step-by-step strategy. First, present the resolution and force states under the glare of public exposure to vote for or against a force to protect the Palestinians from genocide. That means states that have been hiding behind the US veto, saying, well, we tried, but they vetoed it, unfortunately, knowing that the Security Council is not going to act. They will be exposed, and they will have to either say we support protection for Palestine or we do not. Then you deploy the force by air, land, sea. You use all diplomatic avenues to ensure that it can be deployed to press the regime and its Western backers to stand down. And if they are blocked, the force could pre-deploy, for example, to Sinai and carry out remote monitoring while the pressure continues. So in other words, the world has not done all it can do to stop this genocide, and it has to try. Now, we're not naive. Success is not assured, but failure is guaranteed if we don't try.
And Manug Zamal, a genocide studies scholar.
Thank you to all the participants and audience watching the webinar. Just a couple of things, because I'm not a legal expert or have any expertise on UN mechanisms, and so I'll stay away from the law and the UN. But I'll take a look at the historical cases where genocides were effectively put to an end. A couple of cases, not necessarily to save the people that were subject to genocides, but by the intervening external power, feeling their interests are being hurt by the perpetrating state next door, usually. The two cases in Asia, in particular, one is the 1971 internal conflict between East and West Pakistan that turned into a rather vicious, genocidal atrocities perpetrated by West Pakistan, today's Pakistan, against East Pakistan, today's Bangladesh. The casualty rates were estimated, the minimum of 300,000 in a span of about 7 or 8 months. And then there were mass rape by West Pakistani troops. There was a famous and infamous and chilling order issued by the head of the West Pakistani army. I want the land, not the people. You see, that's what we are seeing in Gaza. Israel wants the people. Sorry, the land, not the people. So they're trying to figure out what to do with the people, that they're killing as many Palestinians under total siege as possible, using multiple methods that the SS and the Nazi military have used, and Israel has gone beyond. The second case is the India intervened in December 1971. The war started in March the same year earlier, and India resorted to deployment of air, land, and sea forces against East Pakistan, including attacking East Pakistan, the military and air force bases themselves. It ended within a very relatively short frame, 2 or 3 weeks, and then the West Pakistani troops in Bangladesh, or country that became Bangladesh, surrendered, right? And then, you've got a new republic was born as a Republic of Bangladesh, and then you've got the 1970, 78, 79 military intervention, which ousted the Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge from Phnom Penh by Vietnam, backed by the dissident groups led by Hun Sen.
Now a trailer about a film coming up on September 11th about Germany's obsession with Israel.
Is Germany's vow to never repeat its darkest past, creating a dark future?
I feel I don't belong into this society.
I definitely don't feel safe in Germany anymore.
A Jewish journalist returns to his ancestral home where his family were victims of the Holocaust to investigate and uncover a new hatred.
As an Israeli and a Jew, that I'm not allowed to say stop the genocide in Gaza.
Germany's Israel obsession, coming soon on Al Jazeera.
on Labor Day, a protest in New Milford, Connecticut. Note the banners against genocide that MEC brought to the event. We close with some of the boats going to Gaza in the Sumud Flotilla. That's our program for today. I'm Stanley Heller for the Struggle Video News.